Hey there, it's Rob Hatch. Welcome to another episode of How I Use That, the show where we interview solopreneurs and entrepreneurs about the various apps that they use to keep things organized, to run their business. Today, my guest is Marc Pitman from the Concord Leadership Group, and he's going to talk to us about how he uses the app Notion. Marc Pitman, how are you?
I am feeling pumped after that music. That was great.
Thanks.
Doing a little overbite.
Right. You have been a busy guy out promoting your new book. So I want to make sure we mention that right out of the gate, that you've been doing a book tour for this great new book called The Surprising Gift of Doubt, which I loved. So how's all that going?
It's going really well. People are applying it in ways that I didn't even think to think, different sectors, different stages of life. It's been really cool. And the merch has been fun too. I've got a bow tie now. Let's get the scribble
nice.
on it. So it's been fun to have people be so inspired by even the design of the book to want me
cool.
Yeah, do different
That's
things.
cool. It's a cool reminder what you just said about people using it in ways that you didn't expect. And I think for even though this is it's a business book, it's a creative endeavor, right? We're putting ourselves out there and we can never be fully sure about how people are going to use our words or the stuff that we create and put out there. And it's really cool that people are finding new and unique ways to do that. So congratulations.
Thanks. I've been helped by artists that are like poets and musicians because I've heard enough of them say, I create it, but what it means to somebody else that's not for me to say. And it's been really freeing to not try to protect that. Not say no, you can't use this really good information over there. Yeah.
Right.
Don't be helped over here. It was only meant to be worked here.
It's only meant. So tell us a little bit before we get into Notion. I mean, you're a busy guy. You're not just an author. You're a speaker. You run the Concord Leadership Group. You're a consultant primarily to nonprofits, but not exclusively, I think, right? You can always correct me if I'm wrong.
I niched for nonprofits for 10 or 15 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you're doing a lot of leadership training.
I mean, 7 of my 8 books are nonprofits. So yeah, I guess that's fair.
And now you're doing a lot of work with lots of organizations. But tell me a little bit about Concord Leadership Group, and then once you talk about all the busyness, let's talk about this app Notion and how you use it to keep it all together.
Sure. So the when I went through coach training with Franklin Covey back in 2003, they said you had to have a niche, and I knew fundraising, so I niched as fundraising coach because the implied ROI just seemed like this sounds right. What it didn't have is and my wife reminded me, and you were at a place too, actually, at a social media breakfast in Maine when we had this conversation years later. My wife knew that I'm a mission, vision, values guy, and so that didn't. Even though I saw leadership fundraising as a leadership issue, the leadership aspect didn't get in fully understood in my branding. Despite that, I had people hire me and they were saying, "You're making it really hard. I know I have a me issue. I know I have a leadership issue. The decision makers need to see something to verify that I should spend as much money as it's going to cost to hire you." And then I send them to a fundraising coach and they think I'm talking about nonprofit stuff. They think it's a donor issue. They think I'm clueless. Help me out. So when we moved to Greenville, South Carolina, it was a perfect time. I had to reincorporate anyway. And so I created Concord Leadership Group because Concord means bringing two together. You split of one heart, one mind. And most people I work with are kind of split. So yeah, we get to do leadership coaching around the world and a lot in the nonprofit space, a lot of tech startups and for-profit folks too, helping them create some sort of. Sometimes I don't know if you've ever seen Sarah Plain and Tall. It's a Hallmark movie, I'm sure, but it's about there was a blizzard in one of those Montana or something out west, and they needed a guide rope from the barn to the house so that they didn't get lost in the blizzard. They had to take care of the animals, but they would get lost, disoriented really quickly. I feel like I'm often that guide rope for people through chaos as a coach, helping them stay on track as they're going through bewildering times.
That makes a lot of sense, and yeah, absolutely needed, as you know. So, with all of that going on, with all of the clients that you serve, with the book promotion, the marketing that you do for the business and for the book, and everything else, there's a lot of things to juggle. It's not just you, but it's mostly you, I think.
Right.
So, a lot of that falls to you. So today, one of the apps that you're going to walk us through, and I have to say there were lots of people who had said, boy, I've been itching to learn more about this app. So there's some folks who are excited to hear about what you had to say about Notion.
Yay.
So walk us through, just briefly kind of like what you know about Notion.
Yeah. And thank you for putting it that way. I'm not a Notion expert.
That's what this show's about. It's not to have an expert walk you through how to use Notion. It's someone who's using it, and for you to show us how you use it and just inspire ideas from there about, oh, wait, I hadn't thought of it that way. So walk us through how you use it.
So yeah, thank you. Because you'll see things that are out of date. I was looking at it yesterday as I prepared for this, and I was realizing, there are certain things that are out of date. But like over here where it says Amazon review goal, I at that point had book launch, and it had timed out because the book launch was a month ago on Friday. So now I have Amazon review goal to get 100 Amazon reviews in the first 2 months. But
nice.
This is what I normally see when I open up to Notion. Notion is an incredibly flexible app that can be done basically whatever you want, which is really intimidating. And for some of us, it feels like it's easy to get wrong. So my friend Jeff Gibbard told me about it, jeffgibbard.com, if you want to find out more about him. The reason I went into it first was for contacts. I felt like I was losing prospects. I didn't want to put prospects into my Infusionsoft CRM because if I emailed through there, it said unsubscribe, and they never subscribed. I'm really big on privacy, but I want it right. But having that digital duct tape of Gmail and my own memory and maybe some appointment I put on my calendar and maybe a followupthen.com just wasn't working. So what I did was I created, it's still messy and it's definitely duplicating effort, but as a solopreneur, it helped me to, the prospect section is where I started. And I just had a list of prospects. I'll just quickly flash them here. I've tried to hide their emails, but it was different projects. I can tag them based on the project that I want it for. So for example, I could put in here Rob Hatch. And there's so much flexibility in here that there's too many. I have hundreds of them in here as I've done this. So if I put in Rob Hatch, though, I can open up this guy's name. Mm-hmm. And I have all this things that I've built up over time. Their title, I can have your email, your phone number. I can have a company. So this allows me to roll up stuff. I have a separate company database and it can roll up information about that. If I knew your Enneagram type, I could put it in here because I have it connected to an Enneagram database. Nice. And because of what I've done with that, I have different messages and stances and beliefs that are typical of that number, and that works more in the coaching. So that all became it was just helpful for me. It was just names and addresses, but it was in a way that was more pictorial, and it allowed me to be more visual than my Infusionsoft CRM. What I learned though from doing this was that once Rob Hatch, or John Doe or whatever became a client, I could use it too. And so the two ways I've used it within this are there's a thing in Infusionsoft called templates. So I think it's if you go up here, you can create a template. I think it's in there. You can find easily. There are YouTube videos to show you how to do it. But one of the things as a coach, and you may have experienced this too, Rob, I've tried to figure out what offer a lot of tools. There are a lot of good things that you can help people with, but it doesn't necessarily, they're not all appropriate at the same stage in a coaching process. So I you understand? Okay. So I used to have a gargantuan Google spreadsheet of just trying to remember, did I check off, did they do this assessment? Did they do that assessment? So now, because of the template, I can have all my coaching tools in here, and I can have it in Kanban style. One of the flexible things about Notion is you can view it in different ways. So it's the view. It's not new, add view. So you can view it as a table. You can view it as a calendar. You can view it as a list, a gallery. I like for this particular task, I like the Kanban kind of board style of, if I've done Highlands with you. I've sent you the code. You haven't done it yet. I want you to know, I've wanted all my clients to know that they're the most important client that I have on the call when I'm on the call with them. And I never like saying, hey, Rob, did we do Highlands with you? Especially if that was the third time I'd asked you. So this is a way of keeping it, because all of a sudden you're repeatedly saying, yeah, you're really important, but not that important. And that's not really what I wanted to share. Even the coaching.
Are you sure?
Yeah. How
yeah.
important do you think I am? One of the things that I did with this too, let's see if I can have it. The quadrant 2 time management. I'm a Franklin Covey trained coach, so I like using the quadrant 2 time management. So I might put it over here in this. What a problem I had though was, okay, yeah, I checked it off the list, but where did I put it on my file? Where did I put it on my computer? Right. So because of this, I can now have the YouTube link. I can create a cover, which is pretty. And then I can also, I can organize the tools by different formats. And I have online assessment, video, exercise, PDF, email, or book. So I can, if I need to sort it that way on that, I can. What type of coaching I use it for, Conquer Leadership Group and Fundraising Coach. And then I can also have the actual images and documents embedded in here too.
I love this.
So I can, it's all there for me. I don't have to keep looking at all the different places and figure out, how do I get this important stuff to Rob? I can just do it. Where Jeff said is pretty magical to me, and I haven't gotten to this. Jeff Gibbard said that I could also share this with you.
Yep.
And let it be a client portal so you can see the progress, your homework assignments.
Oh, that's really cool.
And you can also have that buyer's remorse alleviation of, oh, I am actually doing something with my time with Mark.
Right. As a, with coaching clients, the idea of that, tracking that progress is sometimes hard, to know, like, wait, what did we cover? And it all bleeds from one call to the next sometimes. So,
and parts of the process are process, they're not outcomes. And so just having that kind of peace of mind as you go through the process of, oh yeah, I'm on a journey. I'm not just talking to a really nice guy on the phone or on a Zoom call. So that's, I haven't gotten there yet.
With all the, I mean, here's there's a theme that's come up in a lot of these shows with some of the guests, and the way that people are using whatever that tool is. Some people talked about the Brain as an app, Pocket, Trello, and Notion, and Workflowy and things like that. One of the things that you've done here, and that last bit where you were showing all the links, is really this idea of deep linking, so that it's not just a reminder of something. It is the something. It's everything that you need there and available. And I often talk about something called action stacks, and what this has helped, it's usually just a checklist that I might run through, a little recipe card or whatever for, this is each step of the process for me to do this repetitive activity. Just keeps me on track, means I don't forget it. But what these conversations have done is I've moved that from, oh yeah, this is something I need to do, to having all of that information available is really, really wild and cool. How did you evolve from, you started with, it's just going to be CRM separate from Infusionsoft. Like how long has that journey been? Because sometimes I think when we start to use an app, we think we have to have everything.
I think it's a year and a half so
all in. It's got to be. We can't use it until it's all done.
Yeah.
So how did you
I found somebody I trusted. There's Marie Poulin on Twitter who does amazing office hours almost every week. There are a couple other people, but Jeff Gibbard was the one who was doing similar stuff like me and shared. One of the great things with the Infusionsoft with Notion. I slipped. Is that, let's see if I do my brand standards. Here's another one where it's all there for me. I know what my PDF, my URL is. I normally use it in the app itself, not in the Chrome tab. So it's interesting that it's going slowly.
It's all right.
There we go.
There we go.
So I can share it. What was I going to say though with part of what I can do is, maybe it's in the sharing. You can create these as templates. So what you'll find
Yeah.
is that there are some, no, it's not this either, but there are on Notion and other, you'll find people that have created templates for you. And so I experimented with a couple of templates, like you'll see with my content calendar. I've used 2 different types of content calendars because that's another thing I've had a lot of pain points on. I just kind of did stuff because I knew it had to get done. I didn't really plan it out. So with the content calendar, I just used a couple other people's templates and tried it out and then figured out it didn't work. And I had somebody else that I was learning with that was able to say, this is how I'm using it. I think those are the 2 things. This is something else with that, maybe the deep linking, I don't know. But with my Nonprofit Academy training schedule, I'm able to put in, because I've used, one of the things I did do, and I'd highly recommend people should consider at least, is not having, you can have separate contact databases for each page you do. I chose to make it one contact database for all my pages because that way I wasn't reduplicating effort. So every single webinar now up until August, except for July, is in here, and I can share it with my VA. So like with I know that as I'm scheduling it, like right here, I've got Diane Leonard coming in August. I can put the time in there, but you can see there's no document there. So I don't have a description yet, and I haven't applied for the CFRE continuing ed credits yet. And I need to do it for those 2 as well. But what's pretty cool is when I open this, I can even open it as a page and maybe easier to see. My VA now can get the date and time, whatever hashtags. Usually we use the same hashtag, so I don't fill this in. I can put in my own meta description, so I get the keywords that I know my clients are asking for. I can have the headshots and for the web page and the bios for the faculty listing. I can have the emails for them to get registered for Zoom that I can also use to pay. And then I can have the session description here. So it's all available. All I have to do is, instead of sending an email with a bunch of documents and having this convoluted email chain, I can just send this one link and my VA can open it, and she sets up the web page. She sets up the Zoom. She sets up the Facebook event, all based on this one central setting. Yeah, that simplified my life quite a bit.
And again, I mean, you said you had some examples of, people that gave you good advice, and you could follow some, that you tried some templates and some worked and some didn't. But so I love that idea of, try it out for a while. I think, and then if it doesn't work, don't be afraid to go away and try again.
Yeah.
But also learning from, and, again, kind of the point of the show is like, whether someone else is using Trello or or some other app like this, the ideas that you're presenting here of figuring out over time, what do I need? What do I need to have? If I'm going to share this, what do I want them to see? What do they need? They need the description, they need the date, they need the pictures in order to completely fulfill their obligation to me as a VA. I love that. Or as a client, what do they need to see?
Well, and I like what you're saying too, is what do I need? So this was one of them, was the Enneagram is something I've used personally for about over 30 years. But I started working with clients with, and being a nerd, I was asked to teach on it a few years ago as a keynote. I had another monster Google spreadsheet because I wanted a Google spreadsheet because at least I could get it from anywhere, and I'd have the different aspects of the different numbers, and I'd have all these different comments from different people so that I could reference them, because I don't want to I always want to reference the sources that I'm with. It was gargantuan. It was taking forever to move across. So one thing I did was created a sort of area for my Enneagram framework, and I was able to have all my source material and links right here, my, whatever, like the PDF or the MP3 for some of the talks. So the deep linking, my own personal story, and some blog posts like with Parks and Rec. But what was particularly exciting was taking the spreadsheet, because the way Notion is, and I'm sure other tools like this, but I know Notion, I can have like the type, like a spreadsheet, then descriptors, desires, and you can just keep going across with different things. These are some of these things I pull into my contact database, which you saw before, like the stances and some of the limiting beliefs. So I can just be reminded traps to avoid. But as I've learned new things, some of them don't have information, but I still have this monster spreadsheet. That's looks awful. It's cool, but this is cooler to me. I can make it look pretty.
Oh, nice.
So
That is
if I
great.
know somebody is a 2, these are slides, my slides. I've uploaded the image. You can set the cover to be the image, the content, something else, and then I can go in and it has it all in there for me of just that type. So I can just scroll through the information I have on 2s. And then I have it for another stance. There's just a bunch of stances, a bunch of different stuff that I use with the Enneagram, like the centers of intelligence. It's the same thing. I can do a table view or card view. Whatever view's on top is the one it defaults to. So if I shared this page with you, because I have table view on top, it would default to the spreadsheet.
Default to that.
So if I wanted to share it with you with the images, I would just default to the card. And then that's cool. So then I use this. What you said is so important, Rob, about just testing it out, trying it out, going away from it, coming back, whatever the tool is. Because when it came around for my book launch, I was able to do most of my book work with my publisher using this in one place to help keep everything aligned. So I had my task list from my original work that I never did much with. But all of a sudden I had these tasks that you'll see under here where the publisher told me, these are the tasks you need to accomplish. And obviously I haven't kept up with them because many of these are the status I could have put you can put in whatever you want on status. Mm-hmm. So I haven't kept up with those, but when somebody would say, hey, I want to help you with the book launch, I was able to pull in their contact information and put them there, even though it was going to be in 3 months that I was going to contact them. Right. And the peace of mind again of knowing, oh, these things are there.
It's there. It's
the URLs, the project that it's there. It's safe. The book covers, my designer asked me for book covers I liked and book covers I didn't. I created cards like this with the links to the books and shared them with them. These are the ones I like and the ones I didn't. Not that the books are bad. I just graphically didn't care for them. Right. And then, and then my merch stuff, my merch hat and all. But I could share with them my brand guidelines. I've also shared with them what the marketing that I've been doing, which is probably one thing I love about this is that you can do toggles. So instead of having monster lists, you can have toggle lists like this. And so all of my goal to do 100 interviews about the book, I've been able to have here. And I have, just like with any of these, I have the name, the person, the date it aired, what was it, a podcast, a keynote or what, and where's the link. And in many of them, I even have an image to them about, I think shareable. I think that shows, no, I just have a description down here. So when I took a screenshot, I put it in there. So if I ever need to go back and promote it, and if they create an image, I put it in there too.
So, I mean, this looks like a lot of work to build and maintain. And I guess one of the questions that I want to ask you is, how does some of the information that you've built, obviously you've been using it for a while. You had some good examples to follow. You're at a point now where it's serving you in ways that are incredibly useful, but it took some time to get there. How much time, like when does this fit? When does the maintenance and the adding of this stuff fit into your daily schedule? And how much time do you tend to devote to that each week?
I don't. I like learning new things. One of my strengths finder things is learning. So I love learning. And so that was for me, it actually freaked out some of the people I was working with. It was at a time when revenue was low and I was doing this. And I think they thought I was shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. Right. Because I was getting my prospect list together and I was putting little business logos next to them because you can put those in. But for me, so there was a time I put a lot of effort in and it was hours and hours and hours. Over time though, like I think learning to do chores, like my wife has a great plan for chores for all four, for each of the kids and myself, and to put date timers on there helped me it motivated. That was something that would motivate me so that she knew that I knew, instead of just saying, hey, what was the chores list again that you did all the work on and you posted in 2 or 3 places, I could have it right here. And what's great about Notion to me is it's on my phone. So when the reminder pops, it also is on my phone reminding me that it needs to be there. There's an app on my phone. The mileage one is one that's kind of, well, in the pandemic, it's less so, but business. I finally have a business miles. I used to keep this on a Google Doc too, But I find that I can do that, right? I just do a shortcut onto my phone so I can have an easy button. Some of my health stuff I do as well, but I don't normally, I think it's because of the book launch in part. The book launch has, as you know, it fills your pipeline with activity. And so in a normal basis, what I was doing was at one of my tabs on my browser was the dashboard. So I was being reminded about where my planning words were, if I wanted to revisit my story brand and my mission, what my strategy was, who I was trying to reach, what my vision board was, what my daily anti-racist actions were. Some of those other things were right in front of me. I have lost that right now because I am intentionally in a season of out of
promotion.
Promotion out of kilter stuff. Right.
Yes.
Which is actually, I'm moving back into prospect engagement, and I can be really natural with prospects now in a way that I couldn't before. And what I've chosen to do with the prospecting part is, you can have the stay at home, how many days we've not been on the road. I am not necessarily, some of them I haven't talked to in a year, but I'm also not keeping the data on the talk there. For me, all this is name, position, contact information, and date last connected with, because that's all I need for this to do.
Right.
When I start doing contracts and all, that will get in Infusionsoft. So I think there's something, and then there's pretty things like Indify, INDIFY has some fun widgets, and there's some others that do that as well.
That's really cool.
So I think it's playing and that giving myself permission to fail on this, I think, is part of it.
I love that idea. I mean, because again, we feel like we've got to be able to use this so perfectly, and there's so many people. I mean, each app seems to have its own community of passionate users who will, I was interviewing someone yesterday. We were talking about workflow, and he's like, people who use this on the regularly for, it's so powerful. He said they're probably rolling their eyes at the way that I use this because I'm just barely scratching the surface. But again, that it's about what works for you, how it works for you, and kind of how you got there. That's more compelling than the app itself. But it's really cool. You've made the app very compelling. Is there anything that we haven't covered yet that you feel like is really important to hit, before we start to wrap up?
I think we've covered this in a bit, but both with Chabad Lubavitch of Greenwich and with the Nonprofit Academy, I had a bunch of interns that helped me with the social media plan, and was able to use Notion as the way of keeping my media, the stuff I wanted them to remember in the analysis, and then some of the stuff that they created and some of the statistics that they found about my website here. So I think the ability to collaborate, and it's all free. That's the other thing about Notion. They've made it free. I had already invested or paid for a year, which was like $2 a month. So I'm in a different plan, but you can share with us and do all this for free. So I think,
that's
I'm a Notion. I'm like a Notion guy. I know there's other apps out there. And I think it's mostly just finding something that's for you. And if this, for me, the follow through stuff is things that I have, I know I need to work on. I do an intuitive follow through for a while. And in my mid 40s, I was really, really annoyed with myself because I felt like I was just flying by the seat of my pants or running my business on my gut. And then I realized I've been educating my gut for 4 decades, at least 3.5 decades. I have a pretty smart gut. So maybe my running in on my gut is okay. So I don't get bent out of shape if I don't have a weekly review schedule to move through this.
Good.
I did get Scrum strategy. So it's Scrum training. So I do every 2 weeks. I do try to check in on my prospects and my major focus for the next 2 week sprint. But
that's good. That's good to know, and good advice. I mean, I think, we can get caught up and, you miss 1 week of review and all of a sudden you're, beating yourself up because you failed at that one little goal. Like, you can just pick back up again. It's part of it's just knowing how you operate, which I love as well.
And just playing with it to see if it works. Yeah. Sorry.
No. This has been so helpful. And, Marc, if you want to learn more about Marc and Concord Leadership Group, you can go to concordleadershipgroup.com. If you want to check out his book, The Surprising Gift of Doubt, you can go to robhatch.me/doubt, which I found funny to write, when I wrote that out.
Yeah, it does.
Doubt. Mark, thanks so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, a lot of people were curious about this app. This is a lot of buzz about it. So just to see how you've implemented this, one, it's just impressive and incredibly helpful. So thank you very much for that.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
See you.